Gunna said that Drake, that beat, makes some music, and you started laughing. I was like, he's not taking none of this shit seriously.
Nah, man. It's WWE, man.
That was dope of you because I was like, okay, he gets it. It's just
it's WWE,
bro.
exactly, man. And that's still grew up from that era.
He talking about that time when Metro was performing somewhere or DJing somewhere, and someone yelled that Metro, shut your whole ass up and make some drums, nigga. Drake said, shut your whole ass up and make some drums, nigga. So he's talking about that. And again, I always tell y'all, content creators need to make content can really shape how a whole event and how history is looked at. Cause a lot of this shit, nigga, that's not what it meant. What the shit meant was that, for one, he was caught off guard. Two, he didn't want to look corny. That does not mean that he was not offended by that shit. All right, so they're talking MetroBooming because basically MetroBooming, for the most part, him and Future made 2 albums where they were kind of dissing Drake in the title and dissing Drake throughout the record. You know what I mean? And the record like that appears on, I think it was We Don't Trust You, part 1, and the record like that has the Kendrick verse, which really it was kind of weird. Honestly, it was like a kind of one of those subby verses he does where it sounds like he's saying, it's only me. I'm on top. I'm the best rapper. Nigga, listen. Honestly, I think that the like that verse is when I first started realizing, you know what? We have done a lot of hyping, a lot of overhyping when it comes to you and your rapping and your rapping ability, and it's just begun to be too much. Okay, like you just taking the shit too far, taking it too far. So I'm gonna let him finish real quick, and we gonna get into this nigga MetroBooming. Pause.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Before the internet was what it is now, to where it's like personal and fans.
Everyone said that's when I knew you had a great sense of humor. You DJing somewhere out of the country.
All right, but we got receipts though. Last year, nigga, you was definitely mad. That shit said, once you pick a side, stay there. Hashtag we don't trust you. This is based off of his problem with Drake comes from, now nigga, this is work. At the end of the day, y'all have a job to tend to. If you have a job, right? No matter what your job is, yeah, they'll give you time off to grieve if you have a loss in your family and whatnot. But your job is your job. This is business. This beef is supposed to be about him and Metro. Supposed to be. I'm talking about Metro and Drake. You supposed to be beefing because you felt like he shouldn't have been asking you about a beat after your mother passed. And then when we got more context, it wasn't the same week. It wasn't 2 weeks after. He gave him a good couple of weeks, a while. And while he already spoke to him and everything, then he asked him about the beat again. Nigga, this is work. And this is why black men, this is why you can't get nowhere in life. You want people to know, oh, I had a problem with this nigga because he was asking me about me doing my job a few weeks after my mother passed away. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's not a big deal. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter. But fam, if you need something, right? If you need a service, right, and it's super important for your money and for your bottom line, right, you don't want to hear that the person can't do it because their mother passed away a few weeks ago. You're a grown-ass man. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter, but Drake don't got nothing to do with your mother passing away. The same way if his mother passed away and your album getting ready to drop and Drake owe you a verse. If his mother passed away last month and he know that 2 months ago he needed to give you a verse and whatnot, as a professional courtesy, I would assume that you would wait a little bit to ask for it, right? But at the same time, you would expect that verse, and also you would think that would be reasonable to ask for because he know you need the fucking verse. At my job, anyone else's job, it wouldn't matter if you had a loss in the family. The loss in the family, it's not personal. And I get that you guys know one another and whatnot, but nigga, it's a beat. The fuck? It's literally a fucking beat. It's one thing if the story went, hey, I told him, and let's say you somehow, some way, you just, I don't know if he needed to finish the beat, send him the beat, whatever it was. I can see if he hit him up, asked him about the beat, and somehow, some way, he just wasn't able to either finish the beat or get it to him. He said, "Listen, bro, just give me a little more time." And then the story was Drake cursed him out. Drake tried to blackball him in the industry. Drake went online and did a live and cursed him out or cussed him out and made him look bad. None of that stuff happened. And again, I'm not saying that it's not important if you have a loss in your family. I'm not saying that at all, right? But what I am saying is that this became a story based off of really, for one, y'all niggas hate winners. Y'all hate men who win. Society as a whole hate when men win. And also at that time, that was the narrative to go with it. Because for the most part, Kendrick couldn't get in there and just go bar for bar with Drake. Kendrick couldn't get in there and actually like rap for real. For the most part, you had a bunch of West Coast niggas trying to hype up really the most overrated nigga that ever touched the mic. Pause. Like, don't get me wrong. Good Kid, Mad City is a dope concept. It's a well-produced album, but that shit is like a step above like any like alternative quirky rapper at that time. In terms of like the appeal of those records. Because I mean, for the most part, yo, a lot of those songs were uncomfortable, they were weird, and they only make sense or even sound good if you hear it all in succession. Because really, it's the skits that are kind of tying the songs together a little bit. And within that, don't get me wrong, in that regard, that's cool. But I'm not going to lie, I couldn't really enjoy a lot of the records because they kind of all fit within the story, and it's not really relatable because it's about a character in the story, which is fine. But it's not really a relatable character, you know what I'm saying, or a relatable story necessarily. Unless you had that same experience, like maybe some of it, like going to go meet this girl and running into the hood niggas on her block, like that was kind of relatable. I'm not hating on that so much, but it's like, but overall, I can't say that I love these songs or I can play that record right now and be able to like really get into or vibe out off like 5 or 6 of those tracks. Maybe like Poetic Justice and Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. I think like those 2 records had like the most appeal, and mostly because they had the most pulse and they had the most like kind of like beat to it. And I think those 2 records like aged really well from that project, right? But the rest of it, again, not bad, but it's like we was never holding him to the same standard where we looking for you to give us joints, right? Joints to where if it come on right now, the whole area gonna go up, the whole space gonna go up. No matter who in the building is going to go up. You don't have that from that album. Not really. I mean, I think maybe Backseat Freestyle, and maybe Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, but like Swimming Pools. And again, I'm not saying that it's all whack. I'm not saying that. But I'm like, but as far as like you being received as the GOAT, you don't have a lot of those kind of records. You know what I'm saying? And that first the Good Kid, Mad City album, it didn't really have that. You feel me? Anywho, I saw an interesting clip. Now, this is kind of old. Well, it's an old tweet. It's from Adam 22, right?
Reading that article, I was left with the feeling this may all backfire on Kendrick at some point. Because he has built himself up now to be such an elitist character in the space. And I just don't... I think at a certain point, people are going to realize, like, oh, like, we really trusted this guy, and that it's just not really panning out. Reading that article, I was left with the feeling this may all backfire on Kendrick at some point. Because he has built himself up now to be such an elitist character in the space. And I just don't... I think at a certain point, people are going to realize, like, oh, like, we really trusted this guy, and that it's just not really panning out. Reading that article, I was left with the feeling this may all backfire on Kendrick at some point. Because he has built himself up now to be such an elitist character in the space. And I just don't... I think at a certain point, people are going to realize, like, oh, like, we really trusted this guy, and that it's just not really panning out. Reading that article, I was left with the feeling this may all backfire on Kendrick at some point. Because he has built himself up now to be such an elitist
So over the last year, the only people who had the balls to call the shit what it was and speak on it for what it was were people who were supposed to be quote unquote outside the culture. Basically, people who weren't under the allure, the mojo, the magic of Kendrick and this whole he's a colonizer, being white is bad. We think pretty much again, not like us is about this is the anthem to black folks' version of Jim Crow racism, because this is based off the idea that, well, if you got white folks in your family, that means that that you're a bad person. You know what I'm saying? A colonizer. Now, mind you, all with the history of knowing that Drake put Kendrick on. Kendrick was a struggling fucking rapper, okay? I'm gonna keep bringing that shit up every single chance I get, because I remember, I'm an old nigga. I was online, outside, when this was going on. I can tell you, I can remember seeing posts about Kendrick Lamar, right? And even back then, you know who gave Kendrick his light? Nerdy white boys. Nerdy white boys single-handedly fucked up hip-hop in a lot of different ways, because people and their fucked up taste can shape a whole industry, because if they're the only ones getting big looks, because back then you had way more gatekeepers. You had the bloggers, right? The New Music Cartel, that was NotRight.com, Miss Info, all these different people. I think I feel like Angela Yee was somewhere in there too. But if your records were not on these blogs, yo, they were not going to pop. So I started watching NotRight.com around the time when Ye was doing Good Fridays, where he was dropping a new song every Friday that was from Good Music or featured a lot of good music artists. And he dropped pretty much half the album on Good Fridays. But anywho, so that's how I started watching that website. I started visiting that website. So I would see his name a lot. And I didn't really start listening to Kendrick until after his feature on the Drake album, where I learned, oh, that's Kendrick Lamar. That's pretty interesting. And I gave his Section 80 album a try, and I liked it a whole lot. And I thought that when I got the second album, or the official debut, that I would get more of the same, or basically some more well-produced music that had a pulse to it, and there was a vibe to it. Like, go listen to Section 80. ADHD, like, that's a vibe. You can play that right now and vibe out to that. Really the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? No Makeup Today. Like, those records, like that pocket and that subject matter was where it was at. After that, this nigga just went off on a whole, he pretty much became the Black Panther. He became like this caricature, or this I'm sorry, really this whole character, this woke, self-righteous, Kunta Kinte character. Like, even on his second album, To Pimp a Butterfly, there's a song called King Kunta. And at the time, I didn't realize that was pandering and race hustling. Like, all this symbolism, like, this nigga did a Grammy performance. I don't even know what record he did. I think he did Black of the Berry. I don't know. But even that, nigga, you had a song called Black of the Berry. Like, that was a whole era where Kendrick was like doing this super, because he really didn't start being seen as like up there until he like fully kind of engaged in his character, and no one ever really questioned that. Well, you don't really be on joints like you don't got joints like that. Just like how like Nas don't got like Nas can't do a verses with Jay-Z. As long as Nas has been in the game, and somehow Nas has always been put next to Jay somehow, right? Even though he's never been as good as Jay. He's never been as nice as Jay. You know what I'm saying? Never. And he never will be. And also, he don't have the same catalog as Jay. People compare Nas to Jay for the most part just to hate on Jay. But anywho, going back to the Adam 22 thing, Adam 22 doesn't fall for the same or subscribes to the same niggatry and Negro politics. In his mind, he's thinking, just looking at it objectively. He's not looking at it from the standpoint of, I'm here to worship Kendrick Lamar. He's looking at it from the standpoint of what's actually going on. So he wrote the other day on November 26th, the Kendrick bubble has officially bursted, right? This is from yesterday. It says, obviously his career is fine, but the era in which any random LA bozo could get thousands of retweets by heaping generic praise on him is over. People handed podcasts to people who were clearly never going to work because they talk ish about Drake equals over. I'll read it again. People being handed podcasts that would clearly never work because they talk ish about Drake is over. So he's talking about the Elliot Wilson podcast with DJ Head. And there was like one more person, and I gotta find that clip. But they actually had a podcast which started around the time when Kendrick and Drake was beefing. And I remember still, like, I never forget like feeling like I was in the Upside Down, feeling like I was in fucking Bizarre World when like people like I'm like, nigga, if you heard push-ups and then feel like, oh my god, what the fuck is going on? Oh my god, yo, this nigga Drake is snapping. Like before Kendrick said a word, niggas was trying to give Kendrick the W. And it's just weird. And as a battle rapper myself, someone who's been in the culture for a long time, someone who studies the craft, who's been in it, pause. I was like, yo, what the fuck are y'all listening to? What are you talking about? But anywho, that's a little Drake news for y'all, man. So that's about all. I think we're gonna go ahead and close out with that one, man. I am making burgers, and somehow I did not put on my timer. But anyway, love y'all, man. Y'all be safe. Peace.